Do you like it when people hide important things from you? No? Well, it doesn't really matter what you think, because important things are kept from us constantly, even things that directly affect us. That's right, today we're talking about government secrets. Hi, I'm V. Welcome to the top 5 government projects that you were never supposed to find out about. Number 5, Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book was the codename for the study of unidentified flying objects, run by the US Air Force from March of 1947 to December 1969. The project was located at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, USA. It was initially designed by Captain Edward J. Ruthell and was inspired by other projects like it. Blue Book's goals were to determine if UAP were a threat to national security and to analyze UFO-related data. There were thousands of reports that they analyzed, researched, investigated, and documented. But they thought it would be unlikely that studying UFOs would lead to any major scientific breaks. So the US government decided to terminate the project in 1969 for several reasons. Their first reason for the project's termination were that no UAP that had been investigated, reported, or evaluated displayed a threat to national security. Second, there was no UAP discovered that demonstrated a truly unknown or unidentified non-human technological advancement beyond what we already know. And finally, there was no evidence that indicated any of the sightings that were reported as unidentified were extraterrestrial. Over their 22-year run, Project Blue Book received over 12,500 sightings and reports, but none of them were actual unidentified phenomena. I actually have a video on a lot of phenomena that were mistaken for UFOs, so if you want to check that out, click Top 5 Sky Phenomena. It's pretty cool. But back to Project Blue Book. The project received a lot of backlash from the government, who believed that the speculation and theories surrounding UAP should be debunked and not researched. They reasoned that every sighting that had been reported was just people mistaking natural phenomena or military training. The project was taking a lot of money and was not providing any useful information. The financial loss that this project became, mixed with the doubt that UAP even existed, pushed the government to decide that Project Blue Book was unnecessary, so they shut it down. Project Blue Book has since made itself well known within pop culture, being mentioned in TV shows and in UAP enthusiasts. It was one of the most popular US government research projects centered around UAP, so it makes sense that it gained so much traction and popularity. Have you heard about Project Blue Book? Number 4, Project Magnet. Project Magnet was a Canadian study program founded by Transport Canada in December of 1950 and directed by Wilbert Brockhouse Smith. Smith was a senior radio engineer for Transport Canada's broadcast and measurements section. It was government funded and approved until 1954, but the program officially shut down when Smith passed in 1962. Smith's founding theory surrounded extraterrestrial UAP being operated by magnetism, opposed to electricity or any other worldly power source. The project began when Smith requested to use the facilities of the Department of Transportation to study UAP. The project was officially approved and government-backed on the 2nd of December. Smith hoped he would be able to collect data on UAP. The program hoped that the data studied would lead to scientific advancements on practical engineering and technology. Mainly, they believed that the project would provide them insight on geomagnetism and Earth's magnetic field, hoping that this insight would then be applied to vehicles as a source of propulsion. Project Magnet theorized that UAP, if they were real, would hold the technology necessary to make their vision a reality. Only 2 years into the project, Smith made a preemptive statement, theorizing that UAP came from intelligent, non-human sources, and definitely used magnetism for flight. In the same year, the Canadian government established a second UAP research program, again with Smith being the lead director. Smith did end up going a little bit off the goal within a couple of years. He began to share his theories that were far more outlandish than the magnetism manipulation for flight. He believed UAP were linked to psychic phenomena and said that he himself was in telepathic communication with extraterrestrial beings. He wrote a series of articles surrounding the theory, which weren't very well received by his employers, and they weren't even released to the public until 7 years after Smith's passing. When the project was pulled from the government funding in 1954, Smith built an observatory outside of Ottawa Ottawa on Shirley's Bay to continue studying UAP reports and sightings, still believing that UAP would provide data that could be understood and measured by our technology, and then be implemented, leading to advancements. Though a lot of people challenged his hypothesis that magnetism could be implemented, it is a really interesting theory, so for a second, you have to let me ramble on how it would work. The Earth is essentially one big magnet, and the magnet has different strengths depending on geographical location. Smith assumed that advanced life forms had discovered a way to accurately manipulate these fields and use them as a method of fast-moving travel, which, as far as a lot of non-human tech theories go, it's not too outlandish. Like, think about how fast bullet trains are able to travel, just by using physical magnets. If Smith was able to discover the technology that allowed geomagnetic propulsion to be implemented in air travel, it would have been extraordinary. Transportation would never be so incredibly advanced, effective, and far more ecologically responsible. Okay, I'm done with the scientific endeavor. Back to government secrets. Number 3. Institute 22. Institute 22 was a Soviet Union-located organization founded by the Academy of Sciences and the Ministry of Defense. Its main goal was to investigate UAP sightings that were reported in the Soviet Union. It was a top-secret, government-backed program that ran for 13 years until the Soviet Union was abolished. Soldiers, sailors, and pilots of the Soviet Army were directed to focus efforts on spotting UAP and other unexplained phenomena. Since the program was supported by the Ministry of Defense, the lack of information provided was never questioned. The government and soldiers were happy to keep a keen eye on the sky. That was a good rhyme. Oh my god. The Institute studied, investigated, and filed over 3,000 reports. They were able to find certain explanations for 90 to 95% of the reports, but 5 to 10% remained unsolved when the Institute was dissolved alongside the Soviet Union. Conspiracies and speculations surrounding Institute 22 are abundant. The most popular theory assumes that Institute 22 was actually a cover-up for nuclear weapons. People believe that the Institute was involved in covering the near launch of a missile located at a Soviet nuclear base. In 1982, one of the Soviets' nuclear bases was mysteriously brought online, and for seemingly no reason, a nuclear missile was prepped and set to launch. The panic lasted less than a minute before the launch was suddenly disconnected and aborted, just as mysteriously as it was engaged. Later on, it was discovered that witnesses had seen UAP activity near the Soviet base, and Institute 22 was involved to assist with the situation, and eventually, the cover-up. The Soviet Union released a statement that explained the UAP as flares being tested at a high altitude, and that the nuclear missile that was brought online was just a simple test. People weren't any happier with the explanation. In fact, it was still as terrifying as UAP. Like, I'm sorry, you were just checking if a military-grade, city-leveling explosive was able to turn off. So you did this test not knowing if the missile was able to be taken offline after being engaged. Girl, yeah. I'd be more scared of that too. Number 2, Project Condign. Project Condign was a secret UAP study led by the defense intelligence staff of the British government. Condign was only present for 3 years, from 1997 to 2000. That's very short, so let's delve into why the project failed so aggressively and so quickly. Project Condign studied over 10,000 sightings and reports that were collected by the section of the Directorate of Scientific and Technical Intelligence, which is a program within the Defense Intelligence staff. With the information collected, Project Condign created a 400-page document named Unidentified Aerial Phenomena in the UK Air Defence Region. Okay, I feel like that's not a very creative title. Direct, but it sounds like a book that would go directly into the pile of books I convinced myself I'm going to read, but will definitely end up getting utilized as a disposable coaster or napkins. The report laid out the entirety of Project Condign's research, hypotheses, and overall conclusions. It concluded that UAP were an indisputable presence, but that no evidence supported the idea of them being hostile, dangerous, or threatening to the safety of citizens. The majority of UAP sightings that were analyzed and explained by Project Condign were labeled as misidentifications of common objects, while the unsolved reports were likely the result of unknown supernormal astronomical phenomena that is not yet understood by modern science. That's dumb, and I could have concluded that, and I don't even have my high school diploma. Isn't the point of a research to find answers? Like, yeah, you're right. The strange floating light that randomly appeared could be a space rock, but it could also not be. Isn't the point of founding a phenomena identification study identifying and classifying phenomena? It's not just saying, oh, yeah, after intense research and thousands of tax dollars worth of resources, I've come to the revolutionary conclusion that what was spotted is in fact, without a doubt, something that I can't identify. Okay, sorry, I'm distractible. Some of the scientists actually did decide to put their thinking caps on and were able to begin the classification of a strange astral phenomenon, referred to as buoyant plasma formation, which is apparently similar to a lightning ball. The electromagnetic fields generated by plasma are assumed to explain reports of close encounters because of perceptual alterations or illusions. The report suggests that further research into the phenomena should be implemented. I thought that was your job. No, sorry, I actually already explained how clearly it's not. The report continues to talk about how their research figured out nothing about the plasma phenomena, but notes that former Soviet Union scientists identified a close connection between the phenomena and plasma technologies, and they were pursuing related techniques for potential military purposes. I find it so funny that no one even knew what the phenomena was, but in a beautifully inept display of human nature, they went, I wonder how we could hurt people with that. Number 1, Project Sign and Grudge. Project Sign was an official government-backed and funded US study of UAP, led by the United States Air Force, and was active for under 12 months in 1948. The project was founded by General Nathan Farragut Twining, head of the Air Technical Service Command. The objective of the project was to collect, evaluate, and inform the government of all UAP-related sightings, hoping to identify any UAP that were a national concern. The project was dissolved quickly, not even reaching a new calendar year. After the dissolution of Project Sign, Edward J. Ruppelt, Project Blue Book's director, supposedly said that Project Sign had created an estimate of the overall situation, which supported an interplanetary explanation for UAP, and that the chief staff of the Air Forces shut down Project Sign for lack of proof. However, there is no proof that Ruppelt ever made these claims, and many have called the apparent quote more mythological than real. But the same year, the US Air Force released a paper which stated that although some UAP resembled actual aircrafts, there was not enough data to soundly determine their origin. Nearly all reports were explained as originating from ordinary cases, but they did suggest further research into the investigation and classifications of sightings. The curiosity and support from the government to conduct more research, combined with the fear of UAP being exploited by a foreign power, resulted in the establishment of Project Grudge. Since it was post-World War II, panic and stress in government and citizens was high, so manipulating a population into a terrified mob was pretty easy. But in the same political vein, Project Grudge was urged to release a public report containing 4 explanations and classifications for UAP sightings. So, because politics is above everything, Project Grudge fabricated a statement alerting citizens of the 4 UAP sighting explanations. UAP reports could be explained as misidentifications of various conventional objects, mass hysteria and warners, individuals who fabricated reports as a host or to seek publicity, or a psychopathological person. I will say, it sucks when science is halted by politics, because it leads to research being placed second to public opinions or outrage from people who don't even understand the research. Governments will create giant cover-ups and secrets to ease the public's panic, but I think that there's a method they haven't tried yet. Literally just telling the truth and being transparent. And some people will say, oh my god, no, because everyone will panic if you tell them the truth. No, I really don't think people will, because when left in the dark, people actually make up theories that are far scarier than reality. And if the truth is actually that bad, then people should know. So yeah, maybe I'm just not a fan of the government. No, actually no, I'm not. I vote for anarchy, honestly. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video. What do you think the government is keeping from us now? Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something new. Keep it curious. Bye!